What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode on the channel. In today's video, we'll be going over how to color grade outside sports when it is super dark outside. Let's get into it. So, as always, we are in DaVinci Resolve, my favorite software to do anything color grade related. And we're going to be taking some clips from a game earlier, or technically late last season. In football, this was around like November, so it gets super dark really quick, really early. This game was like 6:30 kickoff, and by 7 o'clock it was pitch black outside, as you can see. So we're going to use these two clips as an example. This was Parker High School versus Carrollton High School. Really big game, a whole bunch of 5 stars everywhere, but that's not important. So let's just take our time and really suss out what we need to pay attention to. Let's go over into the color section of DaVinci Resolve. So when I'm dealing with a very dark setting or a dark clip setting, I'm usually going to be focusing on trying to put all the focus on the field. So first off, I'm going to start off by changing my color science with a conversion in DaVinci Resolve for Blackmagic film to Blackmagic extended design. I know you can't see any of the drop downs. I will try to fix that in the next recording so you can actually see everything that I'm clicking on these drop down menus, but don't worry about it. Take my word for it. I'll click it up and show it everything else. So I switched to extended video because that is a Blackmagic design thing that's just catered to Blackmagic cameras. A lot of people use Rec 709. Don't worry about it. So let's go into making our S curve. I always start with the mids. I just feel like once I put my 3 dots outside of the all whites and the all black dots, I always go to the mids first because I want to make sure everything in the middle of the frame where the most action is, where the most color is lit up basically. So with these players having white helmets and white jerseys, I don't want to add too much to the whites and the highlights of the image. I just want to make sure the mids are popping enough so when I do this back end part on the blacks and the lower side of the shadows where I drop it down completely, I can still see a bunch of the mid tones. I can see a lot of the color in the middle of the frame where all the action is going on, and I'm not over exposing the whites and the highlights of the image. Everything's blended perfectly. Like I said, I want to make sure that I'm leaning into the darkness of the image. If I see that there's a lot of noise, as you can see in the background of this, because it is just so dark outside and I'm not shooting on the best glass, I'm gonna make sure I'm just not completely crushing the blacks to where it's like you can barely see anything or it's just like super noisy, but I am gonna make sure that there's a clear distinction of where the light is on the field and the darkness in the background. So I like this. This is pretty perfect. So I want to take this color grade and add it to our next clip, and which is a really good thing about DaVinci Resolve. I can go in, right click and hit and make a still of this, which is basically copying the settings and the color grade of this image, and I'm going to paste that on our next clip. As you can see right here, boom, and there it is. I don't like it all the way because this is a different player, this is a different team jersey, and we're going in the opposite direction. So I got to make a couple tweaks to it. So for the most part, everything's going to be the same, but I am going to crush some of the mid-tones a little bit more. The blacks can go a little bit darker since we're going the opposite way of the field. No, there wasn't much light that way. And since it's a white jersey, a pure white jersey, going to add a little more to the whites and the highlight side. I kind of like that a little better. I feel like it's a little warm, but I feel like it works at the same time. Not really complaining, but I will say with this having a lot of yellow stripes and not being as popping of a color as that purple is, I am going to come over and add a little bit to the saturation, just a tad. I don't think I would go higher than like 59. Honestly, nothing too high because I don't want it to look too unrealistic. Like that's about enough. I feel like we can do with that, because if you just go too far, then it just gets a little weird and it doesn't look very natural. So yeah, we'll probably stick to that 59-60 area. And for the most part, we didn't really change anything from the original still that we took from the other frame. When you have to really pump out a bunch of color grades from one game, when you can find a really good still or really good color grade that you want to use across the entire board, this is the perfect way to do it, because that just saves you so much time, and you can just look at it as we finished making a couple more tweaks. I kind of went back and forth because another thing that you can change with shooting on Blackmagic RAW is the ISO after the fact, which is just chef's kiss. Like, normally you can only do that in pictures and like Lightroom when you shoot in RAW, but being able to do that in post for a video is amazing. It will save your life when you don't really nail your ISO all the way, or you feel like you could have just brightened it up a little bit more. You don't want to add exposure so it looks weird or doesn't look natural. So after that, I'm looking at it, and this is about 100 to 99.9% how I would color grade any nighttime football footage, because I have the colors, I have the darkness separating from the image, but I also have kept all the color and information at the forefront without adding too much noise or adding too much fake saturation. Let's check them out. So man, I enjoy doing this video because I know a lot of times people are going to be shooting outdoor sports, especially in the fall and the winter, where it's going to be super dark, super early, and we may not all have the best glass, but you still want a really good image to work with. So I hope this video was very helpful for you. I know it was helpful for me when I was first learning out, for somebody to show me how to do this, so I was just hoping to pass that information off to someone else. Until next time, y'all, make sure you drop a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.